As you age, from your 20s to your 30s, and from your 30s to your 40s, the muscle building game shifts a bit. Many people believe that the younger you start, the more moldable your body will be. Meanwhile, others believe that your full muscle building potential won't be reached until you're at least in your 30s. Regardless of the age you start, it's possible to do things differently, such as adjusting your protein intake, exercise selection, your range of repetitions, and maybe even your hormones. Unfortunately, there are many misconceptions, and most people don't know how to maximize their results as they pass through their 30s and 40s and beyond. This video will help you understand the ideal steps to take as you age. First, let me start by saying that you can definitely gain and maintain muscles well beyond your 30s. Sarcopenia is a term that refers to age-related muscle weakening. While it was often thought that muscle loss begins around the age of 30, research shows that most people only begin to lose lean muscle mass around age 50 at a rate of about 0.4 or about half a kilogram per year. However, this doesn't necessarily mean you will lose muscles as you age, as much of this muscle loss is a direct result of inactivity and an unhealthy lifestyle rather than aging. Staying lean, active, and eating healthy can delay muscle loss for many years. In fact, we can refer to a study that found age doesn't significantly affect muscle growth as a result of strength training in individuals aged 18 to 39. Additionally, research in older high-level athletes found no significant loss of lean body mass or strength from age 40 to 81. These findings challenge the common belief about inevitable muscle loss as we age, showing why it's important to maintain an active lifestyle at all ages rather than using your age as an excuse for something. Another thing most people don't realize is that the idea that you'll need more recovery time between your workouts is mostly a myth. This is mostly false. Even as you age well beyond your 30s and 40s, most people can train with the same frequency as they did before. While our recovery capacity may decrease as we age, the decline is much less significant than most people believe. In fact, some studies show no significant difference between young and older groups when it comes to recovery capacity. For example, research shows that while individuals in their 60s take longer to recover muscle strength than individuals in their 20s, the older group actually experienced less muscle soreness. Another study found that individuals over 70 recover at a similar rate to those between the ages of 18 and 30 within 72 hours following a rigorous eccentric workout. The study found no differences in terms of recovery time for force production, hormone levels, and inflammatory markers. We can also observe other studies that found similar results. For example, one study found that individuals around 50 years old recover as quickly as those around 20 years old within 48 hours following a high-volume isokinetic workout. So, just because you're getting older doesn't mean you need to train less. Purely from a recovery and performance perspective, you can still go out training regularly. Regarding the range of repetitions, one thing you may have to consider changing to maximize muscle growth as you age is your repetition range, especially if your joints start to bother you. Research shows that people over 30 or older who lift weights experience similar muscle growth experiences with low and high-intensity training. In other words, they can see the same results whether they're using heavy or light weights. However, as you age from 30 to 40, it may potentially be better to focus more on higher repetition training compared to lower repetition training, where you use very heavy weights. There are several reasons for this change. One of them is the age-related loss of type 2 muscle fibers and motor units. As you age, fast-twitch muscle fibers shrink and, over time, lose connections altogether. The number of type 2 fibers can drop by 25 to 60%, while type 1 fibers experience a single reduction ranging from 0 to 25%. As a result of aging, while for most people, this reduction in type 2 muscle fibers is primarily due to aging itself, inactivity is very likely to cause these changes as well. That's why you become slower and less explosive as you age. Slow-twitch muscles are better at superior performance in repetitions with lower weights and are also more effectively trained this way. The second issue lies in the decline of motor performance that goes hand in hand with aging. As people age, their motor performance nervous systems weaken. Because of this, your body has a harder time motor performance contracting all muscle fibers, and the pace at which you can contract those muscle fibers also becomes slower. In other words, the muscle's contractile speed becomes more varied and slower. Additionally, spinal motor neurons may also die as you age, which is known as apoptosis. Due to all these reasons, you gradually become less explosive as you age. Trying to work against your physiology as you age, doing more sets of low reps with heavy weight can be beneficial. Working with your body and incorporating more high-repetition training instead, such as shooting for at least 10 repetitions, is important. Again, it's important to understand that these factors don't necessarily come into play as soon as you hit 30. They just happen slowly and gradually over time. It's also highly dependent on what you put into your body in your youth. If you spent your 20s doing construction work or other physically demanding work, where you might be holding heavy objects in awkward positions over your head or using things like hammers or drills, you may feel pain in your shoulders whenever you're doing heavy exercises like bench press or military press even in your 30s. Fortunately, you can gain the same amount of muscles by sticking to a lower weight load and working on increasing your repetition range. It's not just demanding work that could put you in this position in your 30s or 40s. If you were an athlete playing sports like soccer when you were younger, your joints may fare better with lighter weights for more repetitions. Again, this is more of something to keep in mind as you add decades to your life. Even with that said, it doesn't mean you shouldn't lift heavier. It's still a good idea. Have some heavy sets too and decrease the repetitions if you're not experiencing joint issues, but your overall workout trend should go for higher repetitions over time. Another thing you may want to adjust is your protein intake. Although it probably isn't an issue in your 30s or maybe even in your 40s, as you age beyond your prime, you may start to be affected by something known as anabolic resistance, which refers to a reduction in the rate of protein synthesis after meals and strength training. While this would definitely be considered negative from a muscle building perspective, the cool part is that it can be effectively managed simply by increasing your protein intake. This is because a primary cause of anabolic resistance is that the leucine threshold increases, meaning you need to consume a higher amount of the amino acid leucine to maximize protein synthesis compared to younger individuals. Older individuals need more leucine as they age, but their total daily protein needs actually don't need to change with age. I know this may seem counterintuitive, but the strategy to counteract anabolic resistance involves consuming fewer larger protein-rich meals to stimulate anabolic signals. Specifically, older individuals should aim to consume a minimum of about 0.2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight per meal. Doing so can help you reach the leucine threshold with each meal and overcome anabolic resistance. So, a higher protein intake per meal suggests that 2 to 4 meals per day are typically ideal for seniors, as higher meal frequencies may not optimize muscle protein balance or may lead to excessive daily protein intake. Now, keep in mind that I keep telling older individuals that this is a gradual process. You won't immediately experience anabolic resistance the moment you turn 30 or 40. In fact, it may not even start in many people until they get a little older, but it's likely to happen over time, which is why it's important to keep that in mind as you age. Another thing to consider is that you'll start to become more prone to injuries as you age. This is another reason to focus more on higher repetitions when training, as unfortunately, there's a decline in the strength of joints, connective tissues, and tendons as you age, making them weaker due to a lower rate of protein turnover caused by a decrease in growth hormone production. Lifting very heavy weights for few repetitions is especially stressful for your joints and connective tissues. That's why you might want to focus more on doing something with more repetitions and perform those repetitions in a controlled manner. One thing you could do as you age is to implement more eccentric training into your workouts, as this is especially beneficial for keeping connective tissue strong and reducing the risk of injuries. For example, you can do very slow negatives on a bench press with a partner assisting you on the way back. Or you can also do things like leg extensions with both legs up and one leg down. There are many other similar techniques you can apply on other machines to incorporate eccentric training as well. Even with injury-preventing tension, it's not the most exciting topic for muscle building. It becomes increasingly important as you age. You may realize that you can't train if you're injured, and if you're constantly getting hurt because you're training as if you were 20, you're not going to make much progress. Again, there are different people. So sometimes some people in their 30s who didn't do much physical work or activity in their 20s may have very healthy joints. If you're one of those people and lifting heavy weight doesn't seem to bother your joints, you can include more low repetition training in your program. Either way, it's best to focus on more training volume, controlled repetitions as well, not only because it will help you avoid injuries, but also due to losses in motor efficiency. Research actually shows that older adults tire more quickly than younger ones when doing explosive repetitions, but not when doing moderate or slow repetitions. So, the older you get, the better it is to do most of your sets at a moderate pace or slow pace. If you age from your 30s to your 40s and beyond, and your joints don't bother you, you can work to improve by moving with some form of explosive training so you can maintain your body's ability to generate energy quickly. However, from a muscle building and joint health perspective, focus more on your training in moderate and slow repetitions as you age. Beyond 40, it may also be beneficial to start working to do more training volume than before. Doing more total repetitions and sets can be beneficial as long as you currently don't suffer from overuse. Injury research shows that older people benefit more from increased set volumes compared to younger people. For example, one study found that older individuals experience a greater increase in protein synthesis and anabolic signaling when doing 6 sets instead of 3 sets per workout per muscle group. Additionally, a meta-analysis found that older trainees show a positive response to the training volume-dose relationship, with no evidence of experiencing disadvantages at these higher volumes. So, just because you're aging, you shouldn't use that as a reason to train less. If you want to maximize muscle growth, doing more sets is actually the way to go as you age. So, it's all good. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to subscribe to the channel.